me just stop the music. Okay, we're here. We're live. We're back again. Another live stream. And yep, we're up and running. Hello, everyone. My name is Don. We are talking about music today. We're going to wait a couple of minutes for a couple more people to join in. I see a couple of people are already here and waiting. Say hi in chat. Would love to hear what you guys are up to. How's it going? Feels a little dark today. Like we're missing some light. We have more people joining in. How's everyone doing? How's everyone's Thursday evening? Arya says hello. Hello, Arya. How are you doing? What's happening on Thursday? What are you up to? Are you having a good Thursday? All good. Great, man. Great to hear that. Great to hear that you're having a good Thursday. So we're just settling in, getting ready to go, having all the people join in. So yes, if you're watching, make sure to say hello. I'd like to know who's watching. Let me know how it's going. Let me know how your Thursday is going. Arya, where are you from? Were you here for yesterday's stream, Arya? Okay. So still waiting for some more people to join in. In the meantime, I'm just going to check live, make sure live is running. Let's start a new session. Arya says no. I don't know what you're saying no to. Oh, you couldn't make it yesterday. Oh, that's too bad. We had some good fun yesterday. We were listening to some student music, answering a whole lot of questions. It was good fun. Yes, some more people slowly streaming in, slowly coming in. Welcome, welcome. Hope you guys are all good, having a good Thursday evening. Just checking Ableton, making sure everything is working. Yes, if you just joined in, let me know you're there in chat. Say hi. I would love to say hi back. Oh. Okay. My chat was not set properly, so I could not see. All right, so we're just setting up. We're just settling in. You can see Gauri walking in the background and leaving. All right, so there was a couple of questions yesterday from some of you guys. You wanted to know about transitions as well as something else. There was two things that we were supposed to go through yesterday. So we're just waiting for a couple more people to get in, and we will talk about, working off some transitions. Hemant Esbat, hello, sir. Good evening. Good evening, Hemant. How are you? Hope you're having a good evening, too. All right, so I'm just going to get into it. So what we're going to do is, one of the things was working on transitions. So what we'll do is we'll just make some music from scratch, okay? So we're going to make like a bass track. When I say a bass track, I mean like a very basic track, right? We're not going to go too heavy on it. Let's just pull up Ableton Live. Right, so we'll make a very basic track. We're not going to go too heavy into the track, and then we'll start answering the questions that you guys have. Hemant says he's good, thank you. Awesome. So as always, I like to start with drums. So let's just get some drums going. Again, when you guys have questions, please feel free to ask your questions. Dalijam, hey buddy, looking forward to today's session. Yes, I'm looking forward to today's session as well. Great to have you back. Hope you're having a good evening. So Dalijam, I think you asked yesterday, right, about transitions. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to make some some basic music. We're going to just start with some, basic drums and some melody lines and some, some harmonies. And then we'll play around with transitions. We'll pull it into arrangement and start playing around with some transitions. So great to see you guys here. Hope you're having a good evening. So yeah, let's get started. So I'm just going to get started with a 707 core kit. Always fun to start with the 707 kit. One of my favorite kits. And let us put down some beats. All right, just checking to make sure if audio is good. All right, let me know if you guys can hear this properly, if you have any troubles with audio. Okay, Dalijam says nice, so I'm guessing audio is fine. There's no problem with audio. Alright, we'll start with a simple kick and snare. Let's throw in some shakers. Let's use some samples for our shakers. That's always fun. Let's see what that sounds like. Loud and clear. Good, that's good. Okay, we have an interesting sound going. I want to bring down this tempo a bit. Let's bring it down to say like around 110. A little higher. Let's go to 115. Here's some harsh sounds on that shaker, so let's get an EQ in. So we're just starting off by, building a bass sound over here to start playing off of. So let's clean up our sounds, get some ideas going. Let's get an EQ8 on my shaker. Let's solo that. Let's find where these harsh sounds are coming from. There it is. And let's bring that down. That's better. Jatin Panchal. Hello, Jatin. How are you? How are you doing today? How are you having a good day? And updates are happening on Windows in the background. All right. That sounds better. So let us start playing around with some delays. So I'm just going to put a delay on the shaker and let's see what happens. Sounds interesting, sounds fun. Yeah, so let's build out our drum section over here and have some fun with that. One thing I like to do with my drums, so I really like 80s synth wave kind of music. So you have these really big snare sounds, these really big like these reverberated snare sounds. So let's go for a gated reverb on our snare and let's have some fun with that. So let's just go into our chain list. Alright. Okay, so there's already a reverb set up over here. What I'm gonna do is, let's just put a gate on this quickly. And it's gonna be in dynamics. Okay, there we are. And I'm just gonna sidechain this to my snare. Nico's here. Gauri's saying hello, sir. All right, let's set up this snare. All right, let's get our IO in. Sends. All right, so now you can hear the reverberated snare popping through. I just want to put the gate after the reverb because I want the gate to kind of choke that reverb sound out. So you can hear how my snare is becoming nice and big. That's starting to sound interesting. So now let's try out some chords. Let's make some chords. So let's just go into my sounds. Let's see what we have. Raju's here. Hey Raju, how are you? I'm doing good. We're just making some music. I hope you guys can hear me over the music when it's playing. I know sometimes it gets pretty loud. If you guys are having trouble hearing me, let me know. How are you doing, Raju? Or should I call you Marmaduke? So for those of you who didn't watch yesterday's session, Raju wanted help finding a stage name, an artist name. So we went online, we used one of those artist name finders, or create an artist name, and he came up with the name of Marmaduke Rollins, I think it was. So it was really, I don't know, it was a really weird quiz asking like, what do you do every day? How long do you sleep? And somehow it comes down to some weird artist name. But hey, if the artist name sounds fun, why not? Delhi Jam says, interesting groove. Thanks, man. We're just picking it up, just playing around. Again, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask your questions. The purpose of today is to play around with the software and answer all the questions. Like, you guys had a lot of questions related to software yesterday. So we want to kind of answer those questions while we have the software open. So while you guys get your questions going, I'm just going to keep making music, get the music going, and we can play around with the music and take it from there. So we're going to make chords now. Now the great thing is I'm using Ableton 11, and with Live 11, we have this new function called scale. So I can actually set the scale within the software itself. Now this is great because now I don't have to break, because I'm not really good at music theory. So I don't have to break down and say, okay, these are the notes that belong in this scale and work it out. I can just see it straight on the software, and it's very helpful for chords. You'll see this right now. So let's just go ahead and let's do an A minor scale, because A minor is always fun. So let's go to minor. Let's just make one basic A minor triad. See what it sounds like. Let's bring down the volume. Let's extend this. Let's duplicate this. Jay Paul says hello. Soji. Hello, Jaypal. Hope you're having a good Thursday evening. All right, let's do this. And let's take that to AC, change it on the chord. And let's duplicate that like that. And so I'm being very random right now. I'm not really putting any thought into what we're making. We're just playing around. And let's go to a B. Let's see what this sounds like. Oops. Actually, let's go higher. That is out of key. I'm going to slow the tempo down a little bit more. Let's go down to 110. Some interesting chords to get started with. Let's try an inversion and see what that sounds like. So in an inversion, all I'm going to do is going to take my top notes and I'm going to invert them to a lower octave. And I think I can take all my notes and shift them up. And if we want some more low end on these keys, I'm just going to take my lower keys and shift them down an octave. Okay, maybe it's too low. I'm just going to bring it back. It's starting to sound interesting. I'm missing some low end, so let's get some bass going on over there. So let's go to our sounds. Let's try and find some nice bass. Let's try this azimuth bass. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask it in chat. I know a lot of you had questions yesterday. All right, so I'm just going to put in a very basic bass line. And it's still too low. So I'm going to edit this along with my one demo of EDM track. EDM, electronic dance music, I mean, it's music production. So whether you're making EDM or you're making whatever we're making, today, it really doesn't matter. It's the process of making music that's important. So I'm going to just look at my chords because I want to see where my chord changes happen. So I go to a G3 and then a B over there. Okay. A, C, D. So that's my chord progression, A, C, D. I can see that over here. I'm just going to replicate that when I'm playing my bass. And I'm just going to move those. Oops. I'm putting in my chords. And here. And let me just move this up to C and D. I think we can find a better bass. Let's see if we can find a more... Okay, so Daily Jam asks, can we use slides as well in terms of stringed instruments to make it sound more interesting? So slides, like for bass or guitar, yeah, so depending on the instrument, if I start extending these notes over and if they have a glide, watch what happens. So you can hear there's a glide that happens. So it really depends on the instrument that you're using. If you set glide on the instrument. So since we're just using instruments from our sounds library, I haven't really checked what exact instrument we're using. That is, if we're using operator or anything like that. So let me go in and actually check. So we're using electric on this. Yeah, so it's a whole laid out instrument that you can change whatever settings that you want. We're going to keep it simple for today. Like I said, we're just going to be building basic sections, and then we're going to play around with transitions, like we talked about yesterday. Okay, let's now start playing with some melody sounds. Let us go with, okay, let's go to our sounds. And let us go ahead and check out our synth leads. That sounds interesting. Let's play around with this. And what I'll do is I'll just take my chords, the harmony that I create over here, I'll copy it over here. And let's go ahead and use an arpeggiator. That'll be some fun. All right, let's see what happens. It might be loud. I'll just bring down this volume. Bring up the rate. And I'm just going to extend these notes so we can hear them all. Bring them up an octave. So I'm going to bring them up an octave. They're a little too low. Let's change the style to go down so it sounds a little interesting. Right, that sounds interesting. So you notice that while I'm playing, I'm just playing around with the gate on the ARP. And even this can be put into a transition. So we'll actually use this as an example for transitions. want to play around with it a bit more. Let's put some delay on it. Delay always makes things sound fun. So let's try that out. So let's take a delay. Let's just drop it on this. Kind of an interesting overlay of these notes, right? They're harmonizing with each other now. Okay, so that's fun. I have one section. So I want to build out one more section, and then we'll take this to arrangement, and we'll start playing around with creating transitions and things like that. So I want to build kind of a breakdown. So I'm going to take the same drums. Actually, let's start with chords. So I'm going to take these chords. Let's bring them down. Let's double their length. And I'm just going to play the scene. Right, so what I want to do here is I want to change the chords around. So I'm actually going to change the first chord. And make sure that your chords are correct. And let's remove this. Here, let's go back to A minor. Yeah. Let's move that back. I'm just going to let this first chord play for a bit. And let's pull this back. Aman says, oh, here we go again. Yes, we're back at it. We're just making some music. We're getting the base of a song done so we can start playing around with it and get into some interesting compositional, just have some fun with the composition. Diljam says, sounds very interesting. Yeah, we're getting there. This sounds interesting. Now let's put a beat with this. So let me also extend that length. So what I'll do actually is I'll bring down the previous beat. I'll make a copy of that. And let's just do the same thing. I'm just going to elongate this and see what happens. Oopsie. Now let's keep it. Yeah, this sounds interesting. Maybe bring in that shaker again. Oops. And let's see what this sounds like. And let's copy this over to my bass and get a bass note going. So we start on C. So I'm going to mute the notes that I don't want. Goes to A, goes to D. Keeping it simple. Let's select everything. Let's bring it down. Oopsie. And let's play that. That's too low. Let's start doubling some of these notes to make it a little interesting. And let's just put some variations in here. And the interesting thing is I can just copy these chords over to my ARP, and let's see what happens now. Alright, so we have two sections. We'll switch between them, see what happens. Oops. It's a nice, kind of like a little breakdown that we have. Okay, let's bring all of this into arrangement. And now we get to have some fun. So I'm just going to go ahead and drop this in. And let's also take our second scene. So I'm basically taking the ideas that we created in session view and dropping them in our arrangement. Right, and let's just fill up these sections. Again, if you guys have any questions while we're doing this, that bass line is giving some cinematic build-up vibes. All right, so let's just listen to a section of this. Let's loop it, see what we got. So let's just loop this much. Alright, so we have a section. So now what we have to do is start building in and around. So now this is where we're going to start playing around with these transitions. So transitions could be how you're building up an intro, how you're building up an outro, how you're building between these sections. So we're going to look at a couple of fun things that we can do to play around with these two sections. So let's start by building out our intro. So maybe I will just use this lead, this kind of ARP that I created, and have that as part of my intro. Oh, that's my bass. ARP is this one. Yes, don't be like me, label your tracks so you know what you're working on. Someone's tea is ready. Audio Therapy says, hey, good evening. Good evening, Audio Therapy. Manu, how's it going? Hope you're having a good evening. Right, so we kind of have, we want to use this as kind of an intro. And I'm going to use some automation and turn off my delay over here. Let's just get to my automation. And I'm just going to do this. Oops, I'm automating the wrong thing. Turn that off. I'm going to pull everything to the right so I just have some more space to play with. So let's just do this. I'm going to close my effects. And I'm going to make this a little longer. Right. So one thing you can start, doing in order to make some interesting changes to these transitions, in this case it's an intro, is we can make some compositional changes. So compositional changes means you're going to make changes to the actual music. So let's try removing some sections and see what happens. So I'm just going to remove this section over here. So let's just go in. I don't want this to play. Let's see what happens when you do this. Right, let's copy that over a couple of times. Right, it's starting to sound a little interesting. Let me turn off that loop. I'm going to copy it like this all the way to the intro. Now I want some drums playing over here, so maybe like a kick. So let's bring our drums in. I make a copy, bring that in. I'm just going to duplicate this over. You know what? I'm going to remove my snare. And let's just do the same thing. Just keep copying that over. Right? And again, I'm just going to keep making compositional changes. So I'm just going to put a break over here. Maybe make that gap a little bigger. Because what I wanted to do is I want to lead into my strings over here. So let me just do that. And let's see what this sounds like. Okay, that went straight into the music. Again, we want to extend that intro a little bit more. So I'm going to just create some more space. And I'm just going to copy everything over. Make a nice long intro. Let's bring in some bass, say around over here. So again, I'm going to make some compositional choices over here, and let's change this bass around. And let's try this. Yeah, let's just do this for 4 more sections. All right, so you can see how we're building into a section right now. All right, so we'll just make one more compositional change over here. So I just want to pull this out a little bit more. And I'll put this here, put this here. Oops. All right. And I think now we can just head into the meat of this track. And now we're going to do another transition to get into the main section of the track. So we looked at one type of transition that we're changing around, compositional elements. Right. So I want a gap over here. Right. I want this kind of gap, and then I want it to get into the actual song. So what I'll do over here is I'm not going to play the drums. Let's have the bass play. Let's have this play, and I'm going to bring in the arpeggiator over here. Right? Sorry, the delay on the arpeggio. So let's see what happens. Right, so you see how I use that effect, that audio effect. So what I basically did over here is I just changed the automation so that the delay kicks in over here. You can see this entire line over here, the delay is off. The delay that's here, it's off. And right over here, that delay kicks in, and it adds a nice transitional element. I'll play that again. Right? So we have a nice transitional element over there. Let's just extend that section. See how that sounds. Right, so we have a nice bass section over there, a core section, I would say. Now we want to go into this kind of breakdown that we've built over here. So another thing we can do over here is, let me just go ahead and fill in this section. So let us put in these leads. Let's put this in. Okay. Okay, so it sounds very dry, right? There's no build-up or anything that's going into that. So let's put in some effects. And when I say effects, I don't mean audio effects, but I mean like effect sounds. So things like reversed cymbals and things like that. So I'm just going to find a cymbal hit. It's a little harsh, but we will clean it up. So, okay, so I have a cymbal hit over here. I just put a cymbal hit in. I'm just going to go ahead and hit R, reverse it, and let's see what happens. Right? And I'll put this in the section over here that we created. Right, and what I can do over here is I can put a reverb on it so that it kind of lasts a little bit. So I'm just going to go into my audio effects. I'm going to take a reverb. And let's try that out. Okay, let's see how the reverb sounds alone on this. It's a very interesting sound, so I'm just going to really make it nice and wet. Let's see what that sounds like. There we go. Super long tail. It's okay. It'll drown out with the music, so it should be fine. Maybe we'll remove this shaker from this section. So let me just zoom out. Let's extend this. All right, let's listen to it from the beginning and see what we have so far. Another cool thing we can do in order to work off of those transitions is play with things like filters and automate those filters. So what I'm going to do is let us go into EQ and filters. I'm going to put an auto filter on this channel over here. Let's just go ahead and drop that in. All right, so basically what I wanted to do is something like this. So I'm just going to keep it. And maybe I can have it spike at that section. So what I'll do is, let me just set the automation on frequency over there. Right? And I'm just going to do this. Okay, too much. Let's just keep it a little bit. Almost like a wall, like a guitar wall. And then over here, let's have it rise and come into full spectrum. I can also copy my automation, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. And I want to put it here. There we go. All right, so we've made some interesting transitions just by using very simple techniques, just changing around the composition, playing around with different types of effects. So not only audio effects, but actually effect samples. So using different types of samples. So you can see I used these, reverse cymbal hits. You can try different types of instruments and see how those things work for you. Just play around with these things, right? Try different types of effects. There's so many times people say that, the only way to get a good transition is through composition or, through X, Y, and Z. That you can combine so many things together and get what you want. We can also play with the MIDI effects. So say, for example, on this, we have this ARP over here, and we have the gate on the ARP, right? So actually, I can actually play with the length of the notes over here. So let's see what happens. So I'm going to keep the length long, and then just before I get into the track, I'm going to bring it down. And so I'll play it from here. Let's see how that sounds. Maybe make this a little longer so we can hear the change of notes. So even using things like audio effects, MIDI effects. MIDI effects can really help you with those compositional sections and really change around those transitions. And yeah, let's listen to the whole thing once and see what we got. All right, and we have like a section that's almost, about a little over a minute long, right? And from here, you can just keep building out and adding more sections. The idea being is, just start with something basic and start building from that. Start with the basic idea and start building out from that. I didn't take too much time to think about, okay, what are the sections I'm making? What kind of music am I going for? This is a great way to practice also, right? Just get used to the ideas of different types of transitions, the different types of elements you can use for transitions, and everything else you can use to get where you want to go. And it's an easy way to just build out a full track, right? We can, if we sat for a couple more hours, we can probably build out a good 3-4 minute track, right? And start mixing it down, making the sound good, and all that good stuff. So, yeah, great way to get started with transitions. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much what I'm going to cover today. If you guys have any questions, make sure to ask your questions. We will have another session tomorrow. So tomorrow we will do another session of listening to student music. We'll listen to some student music, see what people have been up to, have some fun on the stream tomorrow like we had yesterday, and we'll take it from there. So that's about it for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys have a good Thursday evening, and we will see you in the next one. Happy learning.